Shalom, friends. Parshat Teitzei, when you go out to war, begins with war and actually ends with something related to war as well. And this is going to be teaching about the end of the Parsha. And it's not going to be frothy and light. So if you're after something frothy and light, you might want to seek elsewhere. Because it's about Amalek. We're told at the end of the Parsha, remember what Amalek did to you. And remember, don't forget to wipe out the memory of Amalek from under the heavens. And remember, this is your duty, your eternal duty. What does this mean? What's it about? What's Amalek? Amalek is the people who attack the Jewish people, the Israelites, when we leave Egypt, the place of constriction and slavery. The plagues happen in the story, then the sea splits. And the sea, we're told, splitting, is a revelation of the transcendent divine in this world, in the immanent world. That is one of the greatest revelations of the oneness of all existence, that the most transcendent, mysterious, beyond, you might call it the sacred, the holy, is completely physically immanent. It's completely present in the molecules of water that act in this very surprising way that seems to have no natural explanation. So the sea splits, which is this revelation of oneness, and we come through and we get to the other side. And one of the first things that happens after we doubt, very importantly, after we doubt the presence of the divine, we say, is Hashem in our midst or not? And then Amalek come and attack us. But why did they attack us? Why are they motivated to attack us? There is no piece of land that we have that they want. There is no money that we have that they want. There is nothing worldly they are trying to get from attacking us. So in our tradition, we explain that they are attacking us because they are cruel and because they are trying to rid the world of the revelation of oneness that we are messengers for. We embody this message that everything is one. We say Shema Yisrael, right? The transcendent is the immanent, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Everything is one. The Creator is one with everything. We are all part of that oneness. We say, therefore, human beings are included in that, and therefore the Torah says that human beings are created in the image of God, B'Selem Elohim. They cannot bear to live in a world where people are created in the image of God, where everything is one. They must destroy that world. Those are truths that they oppose. And our tradition tells us a few things about Amalek. I already mentioned their cruelty, that they're trying to rid the world of the revelation that we embody. And also, our Hasidic masters tell us they identify with and they strengthen in the world the forces of sheker, or falsehood. Sheker, shin, kuf, resh. Falsehood, our ancient rabbis tell us that falsehood has no basis to stand on. And one way they illustrate this, the short-lived quality, the flimsy quality of falsehood of sheker is, if you look at the Hebrew letters, shin, kuf, resh, of falsehood, sheker, they don't stand up. They don't have a support. They don't have any way to endure, as opposed to the letters of the word emet, true, aleph, mem, taf, which can stand. They're stable. They last. Another really important teaching about this is that the emet, the truth, aleph, mem, taf, is the beginning of the aleph bet. Mem is roughly in the middle, and then taf is the final letter. Meaning that emet, truth, is something that develops and emerges over time, and that we do not have access to while we're in the middle of the story, the complete truth. The complete truth is only available at the end of the story. So it's very, very easy to look at any snapshot of where things are up to. And especially if we decontextualize, and especially as happened this week, if we take a very inflammatory word such as genocide, and we deliberately change the definition of it, and we create an organization that is supposed to be some kind of objective or authority on it, and then we make that organization open to membership so that anyone can join that organization by paying a small amount of money, even people with made-up names, including Adolf Hitler, which really happened. People joined the organization with these made-up names, and then they have a vote, which included only a very small minority of the actual members of the organization. And lo and behold, that organization is on the front page of every website, news website, and newspaper and news service in the world, saying, International Association of Genocide Scholars all agree unanimously that the one Jewish country in the world are guilty of the worst possible crime. Well, even those most serious academics who make that claim are using a definition of genocide which they have made up for this purpose, which has never been used in any other context before. So that tells me that this is a continuation of the libel that our people have faced, that the forces of Amalek have always used against us, because they cannot bear the revelation that we embody. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that we are perfect, very far from it. And it does not mean that war is not terrible. War is terrible, and terrible things happen in war. And right now, terrible things are happening in this war that I'm living very close to. But to say that the one Jewish country in the world is the source of all the world's problems and guilty of all the worst crimes in the world, while not even looking anywhere else and changing the definition of terms over and over again. It also happened with the word apartheid, by the way. People accuse Israel of apartheid and say, oh yeah, well, of course we don't mean apartheid in the sense that it has been defined up to now. We mean a new one, a new sense of the word, and so on. So this is part of the sheker of Amalek that's very, very contagious, because people have a very deep need to attach themselves to this. Or another way of saying that is people get sucked into the vortex of falsehood, of sheker. So we have cruelty and we have falsehood. Where's the good news? What's our work? How are we supposed to fight that in the world? How are we supposed to show up at the best we can as agents, as conduits, as vehicles for the divine, for love? Well, the antidote for cruelty and falsehood is compassion and truth, which actually in Kabbalah are both the same quality, Tiferet, which is the quality of Jacob, Yaakov. We're named after him, Bnei Yisrael, with the children of Israel, because another one of Jacob's names is Israel. And he is the only patriarch who all of his children make up our people. So we are very, very directly connected to him in a very, very strong way. And the qualities of compassion, rachamim, and truth, emet, being the same, in itself teaches us something very deep and powerful about who we are and how to live a good life in general. This is wisdom that anyone can benefit from. When we practice compassion in a healthy sense, and compassion sometimes is misunderstood in other contexts. Sometimes there are overtones from other cultures that might confuse us as to what this is. Compassion doesn't mean always turning the other cheek, and doesn't mean always forgiving someone even if they might not actually deserve forgiveness. What compassion means is a healthy blend in Kabbalah of chesed, of loving kindness, and gevura, which is din, severity, judgment, that brings us to a place of truthfulness, which is, for example, if someone does something that is dangerous and irresponsible and harmful, I can see their humanity. I can see that they are just a wounded human being, just like anyone else, and they've been brought by all kinds of events and conditioning to the place where they're doing that thing. And I don't need to hate them or demonize them or say that they are essentially evil or more evil than anyone else. But at the same time, the compassionate response might be that I might need to protect myself from them. And I might even need to preemptively kill them. It might even be if someone had a time machine and they could go back in time and they could preemptively kill Hitler or some other Nazis before they did what they did, not only for the sake of the Jews, but for the sake of the tens of millions of people who were killed in the war that they started. That would be the compassionate thing to do. And it wouldn't be nice and pretty and easy. It wouldn't be, turning the other cheek. But sometimes compassion involves the tough aspect too. So being compassionate, getting that mix, getting that healthy blend of loving kindness and generosity, the expansive flow of life with boundaries and severity and judgment. That's rachamim, that's compassion. And that is seeing everyone's humanity. And as I mentioned, it's also seeing the connection between the micro and the macro, between seeing this individual, whether they are someone who is currently doing something dangerous or someone who's currently doing something wonderful, or maybe both at the same time. They are part of a whole. They are part of a context that is much bigger than them. And to not focus blindly, to decontextualize to obsess on that one individual or even that one group of people, but to really see the big picture. That's part of compassion too. This goes very well with emet. And the Kabbalists say in the Tree of Life, emet, truth, is another name for rachamim. It's a very profound teaching. These are all different names for Tiferet. Tiferet is harmony or balance, the connection between the micro and the macro, like Jacob's ladder, between the physical earth and the Shemayim, the infinite heavens. Emet, truth, and compassion are just names for that quality. So when we go to a place of compassion, real compassion, we can see someone's humanity and accept their fallibility, and do the same for ourselves, by the way. That's really probably where a lot of us need to start with this work of compassion, to really see our own humanity and to understand our own limitations, and to see that it's not our fault. We're just doing the best we can, and that's true therefore for everyone else as well. When we see that, that lets us get closer to the truth, because there's so much resistance, so much of the hate in the world, so much of the anger, so much of the violence in the world is related to violence that we do ourselves, that individuals do to ourselves. That is a kind of resistance to truth. I don't want to admit the pain. I don't want to get close to the pain. I don't want to get too close to really feeling it. So I resist it and I deny it. I don't let myself go too close to it. And that actually only creates more suffering in the end. Whereas if with compassion, I can soften into actually feeling what is really going on, the truth of what's really going on, that is the pathway to healing. And so, of course, the Torah tells us at the end of this week's Torah portion, the way to heal this problem of Amalek, which is cruelty and falsehood, which we see so much of in our world today, is compassion and truth related to memory, zikaron, to remember, to wipe out the memory of Amalek. It's through memory. We don't have another word for history. We don't have really a concept of history in the Greek or Western sense. We have to import that word when we want to say we study history, because history is something that happened to someone else, or some kind of attempt to be objective about what happened. We're talking about what happened to me and that I have inherited, that is in my body, in my DNA, in my experience, even though it may have happened to my ancestors or my spiritual ancestors. It's part of my experience now, and I can choose to fix it and work with it. So zikaron, memory, being mindful, being aware of what has happened, is the way to fix it. And by the way, we see this so clearly when we look at cruel, callous acts, not only acts of anti-Semitism, but let's look at the most obvious example of the Shoah, of the Holocaust. And also, by the way, it's true for October 7th. Those people who celebrate October the 7th and celebrate the Holocaust and want to commit atrocities against our people, like the original Amalekites, they also lie. They also use sheker, falsehood, all the time. Sometimes they deny those things happened or try to minimize them. Sometimes they use inversion to accuse us of committing crimes as part of their campaign to therefore pave the way for committing those crimes against us. That's all part of the strategy of Amalek. So we need to be very, very strong and clear about who we are. We are Bnei Israel. We are the children of Israel. Jacob, Israel, is the Sephirah of Tiferet, which is beauty and harmony and connection between the heaven and earth. And we join the body and the spirit. We join the micro to the macro. We do that through truth and compassion, through emet and rachamim. That's what we're here to do. We're here to bring, as the Kabbalists say, compassion, rachamim. We're here to unify that with all of existence, with Shekhinah, with Malchut, with all of manifestation and all of life. That is our mission. It's a very holy mission. It's a very intense and hard mission. It entails growing over and over again, finding out our limitations, finding out we're not quite there yet, and keeping on growing. We lose a temple here or there, a civilization or two of ours along the way, a Jewish commonwealth or two along the way gets destroyed. Millions of us get massacred. I don't mean to make light of this. This is our history. We pick ourselves up and we keep going every time. Many other peoples have been through tragedies which simply stopped them in their tracks, and those people died out. We went through enormous tragedies which wiped out our whole civilization over and over again. Also the expulsion from Spain, also the Holocaust. Again, we picked ourselves up and we kept going. If my window was open right now, I had to close it because there was so much noise outside. You would hear the sound of physical building of homes here in Israel. You would hear the sound of children playing in the playground near our house. You would hear the sound of music blaring while people clean their house for Shabbat. We are alive, and our life force is so much stronger because we had that recent encounter in history with such a cruel, destructive force of callousness and falsehood that tried to destroy us all and succeeded partially, but we came away with a much clearer, stronger sense of who we actually are and what we're actually doing here. May it be that all the challenges we encounter in our lives only make us stronger in that way, that we come away from them knowing who we are and attaching ourselves more strongly to compassion, rachamim, and to emet, the truth.